So what does my head look like in this? Is this too big, too small, too far away, too... Is this better? Hey, America. I just had a couple things on my mind, and I was wanting to share them with you. So, here goes. Colorado's got a Secretary of State election that's happening right now.
And, you know, Wayne Williams really didn't change course until the Trump Commission itself asked the Secretary of State not to send over Coloradans' information.
So you would not have flatly rejected the request from the Trump administration?
I feel that you do have to follow Colorado law, but it's not Colorado law to comply with a possibly unlawful request.
So we have Wayne Williams, Wayne W. Williams, Mr. Old WWW himself. So Wayne W. Williams is the current Secretary of State for Colorado. Now, he's had a couple of controversies since he's been in office, and he's only been in office for 3 years. So Wayne W. Williams is the current Republican Secretary of State. Now, you have 3 Democratic candidates who have thrown their hat into the ring already. You have Philip Villard, who is a friendly black man. And that's all I know about Philip Villard. He's got a website. He talks about outsourcing. So he is all about, stopping outsourcing, which I have no idea what that has to do with the Secretary of State's position. It sounds like a very generic letter. So he's got a generic, website up with a generic letter. I called him. He didn't respond. Neither did Jenna Griswold, but Gabriel MacArthur did. And I think there's something to be said about that because he didn't blink. He didn't blink. I just had a couple questions. Hey, Gabriel, what are you about? I'm a citizen of Colorado, and I'm curious what's your platform. What are you about? And he answered my questions, out of the blue, picked up the phone. I got some questions, and that was it. On the other hand, I had left a message for Jenna Griswold, and it was like all informal, or it was all, trying to be formal. My name is this, and this is what I'm trying to do. And so now it's like this big thing, And then she's like, is that a good idea? Should I do that? Should I not do that? And, make of it what you will, but I like a person who says, somebody wants to talk to you, then you talk to them. They got some questions. They want to, see what you're about. It seems like there was one politician in Kentucky that said he always returned anybody who called him, anybody who called his office, he always returned their phone call. So that was just a principle he always lived by, and I like that. I think that's really good. So there's 3 Democratic candidates who are running right now in Colorado for Secretary of State, so this is going to be a good primary. I hope Philip Villard comes out and actually puts something on his webpage about election processes, his position on, the turnout rate, how to increase the turnout rate, something about Secretary of State, just even if it's just about bingo, the licensing of the bingo games, whatever, So Philip Villard is one candidate who is kind of non-consequential, in my opinion. And then you have Jenna Griswold. And after I read this article about Jenna Griswold, I was like, looked her up. I saw her baby blues. And she's 32, relatively young lawyer, so she's promising, professional, young. I was like, oh my God, she's got this hands down. So Jenna Griswold is a candidate for Secretary of State for the Democratic ticket, and Gabriel MacArthur is. Gabriel MacArthur was running for, I want to say, one of the congressional districts, Mike Kaufman's seat, and apparently he's popular. I don't know why Mike Kaufman is so damn popular in Colorado, but Gabriel Arthur was going to run in the Democratic primary for Kaufman's seat eventually, but he dropped out of that race, and he's now running for the Secretary of State. So Gabriel MacArthur, and he's surprisingly progressive, and that's exactly what I'm looking for in all my candidates all across the board. So here's Gabriel MacArthur right here.
I would like to submit testimony to the Democratic Party Platform Committee that we should set the standard as a party to move towards publicly funded elections.
So did you catch that? he said that Gabriel MacArthur said that he was in favor of public financing of elections.
Regardless of party, I think every candidate should have a fair shot and be lifted to the top by their policies, not who they have in their pocket. And I think being the Democratic Party, we should represent democracy. And we should be the finest example of democracy in the world. And so that's why I believe we should change the structure of the campaign finance and really make it a priority for our party.
So in order to ensure a fair shake, that everybody gets a fair shake, the same amount of TV time, of debate time, of, their policies, the strength of their ideas is what should escalate them to the top. So that's what he is saying. He is saying that he wants to change the finance laws, with all the lobbyists, people dumping all that money, and then the candidates are beholden to their donors. He wants to change that to where we have public financed elections. Public financed elections. So some people say that's welfare for politicians. Yeah, maybe it is. But for just, $50,000, make sure that everybody gets a podium, everybody gets a platform on the stage if they got the requirements and they're on the ballot. If they could be elected into a position of power, then the media and the access to all the resources of the government should be equal. It should be equal across the board for each and every individual candidate. So I came across Jenna Griswold from this article that was written by Ricky Carroll of the Aspen Times, and he had reported that at the Pitkin County Democratic Party's annual dinner on Wednesday, so this is actually fairly new, at the T. Lazy 7 Ranch, Colorado Secretary of State Willy Williams was criticized for complying with Trump's voter registration executive order, his voter fraud inquisition. So Willy had shipped Trump the voter registrations just like Donald had wanted. Donald said, "Give me all your information." Willy Williams, he says, "All right, here you go," and just completely, thoroughly complied 100% with exactly what Trump wanted. And Jenna Griswold, she was criticizing him correctly and saying that Willy's complicity in Trump's witch hunt for his voter fraud inquisition is a bunch of bullshit. So the Democrats in Pitkin County, which is the home of Aspen, Colorado, where the beer flows like wine, have got their shit together. Pitkin County, population 17,000, has the 7th highest income per capita of every county in the United States. So Pitkin County is a very wealthy, very rich county, and it's named after the 2nd governor of Colorado, a great Republican who went by the name of Frederick Walter Pitkin. So at this dinner, you had Jenna Griswold, who got up and she criticized Willy Williams, the current Secretary of State, for complying with Trump's voter fraud inquisition bullshit. And she got up and she rightly criticized it. There was also 3 or 4 attorney general candidates who were there too. So that's how come Pitkin County's got their shit together, because they got the, many of the attorney general, I want to say Democratic candidates for the attorney general's race, and they got Jenna Griswold too. So this is the annual Democratic Party, right, the annual dinner for the Pitkin County Democratic Party. So good job, Aspen, Colorado. At the T. Lazy 7 Ranch, Jenna Griswold, a 32-year-old lawyer from Louisville, Colorado, of Boulder County, vehemently and defiantly declared, "I'm running because I refuse to roll back our voting rights here in Colorado. We're going to show the Trump administration just how Colorado works, and how Colorado works is that we're going to keep our voter rights, and then we're going to get more people to participate." So that's absolutely right. The voter fraud, yes, you do want to make sure there's no voter fraud, but because over 50% of the people don't even vote, you actually want to increase voter turnout rates. You don't want to try to depress it. So yeah, make sure the people who are voting are allowed to vote, but also try to get everybody to vote. So I believe Gabriel MacArthur had mentioned about automatic voter registration. So I think that's a genius idea. As soon as you turn 18, as soon as you get a driver's license, automatic voter registration. you become a voter. So that would encourage, get more people to participate. So Jenna Griswold's declaration shook the pictures on the walls and the rafters. She's in favor of more people being introduced into the system. Jenna Griswold is in favor of more people participating in our democracy, unlike the Republicans, who are always trying to find more and more reasons for voter suppression. So personally, I would like to see Colorado have a state holiday for the primary and the general election. How obvious is this nation when we have election day on a work day, on a weekday, and that's basically saying we don't want anybody to vote. It should be a national holiday, so that way you have plenty of time in order to go out and get your vote. But it should be, maybe you could even have time to research it, right? Maybe we should have a week of holiday of election. This is what we're spreading throughout the entire world, how powerful and strong is our democracy when the majority of the people don't even vote. We still have super delegates in the Electoral College, and I could just go on and on. The third parties, independents, are laughed out of water. They have no chance because we have a broken democracy. So I would like for it to be a national holiday. Gabriel MacArthur is in favor of that too. He's in favor of it being a national holiday. So at least we'd have a sliver of semblance of a functioning democracy who actually wants the people to participate. So make it a holiday. God, we have all these other holidays, and this is, we're the democratic, we're the city on the hill. So we're the prime example for the entire world, right? We're that light, we're that beacon, we're the Statue of Liberty. Come to us. And so our elections, since that is the only tiny bit or, a flash of democracy that we get, it should be a big deal. And so he's in favor of it. He says he prefers it to be a national holiday, but as the Secretary of State, you can only make it a state holiday. And then he also says that he wants guaranteed paid time off for general elections. And he says that it's already on the rules, that most people don't even know about it, but employers are legally required to allow 2 hours of paid time off to vote on the general election day. So you get 2 hours. Your employer has to pay you for 2 hours of time for the 2 hours that you go vote. So I think that's actually incredible. I didn't know about that, so that's interesting to know. And he said that he would lobby the legislature hard for the state holidays, encourage the public to do the exact same. So he can't really make the election day a holiday himself. But this is the conversation. This is the conversation that the Democratic Party is going to have. I cannot wait for Jenna Griswold and Gabriel MacArthur to take the stage so they can discuss all the different ideas of how they're going to increase voter turnout rates.
About 3,700 Coloradans have asked for their names to be taken off of the voter rolls since the Trump administration's Anti-Voter Fraud Commission asked for publicly accessible voter data from every state, including Colorado. Jenna Griswold is running for Secretary of State as a Democrat. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
You have been critical of our Republican Secretary of State, Wayne Williams, and his handling of the Trump administration's request. What would you do differently?
Well, I think when we're talking about our elections and our voting systems, we really need to be careful because we want more people to vote in Colorado and not less. So as early as July 3rd, the Trump Commission that was asking for the voter information, there was legal challenges to the federal request itself. So, what I would have done differently is say, Colorado, we're going to wait and see how the legal challenges work themselves out and then decide what to do. Having two electioneering bureaucrats battle it out just based on policy, so not ad hominem, but just policy, and that would be amazing. So what are the new bold ideas that we can have to increase voter participation? Willy Williams. Willy Wayne isn't going to do anything. He's not going to change anything. He's a staunch conservative, staunch right-wing. He's a Mormon, which they used to be polygamist, I think racist too. The thing with Joseph Smith, it's all, hullabaloo, voodoo. It's all voodoo, hullabaloo to me, but that means he's brainwashed. But I heard that they're not polygamist anymore. But I know he's a conservative, he's a partisan, and he's got into a lot of different controversies, which I'll be getting to here in a minute.
But he's not going to be introducing anything new. He's not going to be changing anything. In fact, he's got to write the rules to allow independents to be able to vote into the primaries. So if I was running for Secretary of State, I would pay very particular close attention to that, because that's a huge blow to the two-party system, and it increases the amount of power that each and every unaffiliated voter has. So Proposition 108, pay attention to how Willy Wayne Williams is going to write that law, because if you're unaffiliated, now you could vote in the Republican election or the Democratic election. You could vote for either election that you want to, and so that increases your power as an unaffiliated voter. But as him being a partisan hack, he's going to be against the increase in power for independents. He probably doesn't like the exclusivity, that their exclusivity is being broken. So he probably likes the exclusivity of the Republican Party, but because of Proposition 108, now any unaffiliated, any independent, in fact, even if you're a Democrat or Republican, it would make more sense for you to become unaffiliated, so that way you could vote in the opposition's party's elections, because you could do that now. You could fuck up, I'm a lefty, so if I'm voting in the Republican Party, they did this in Ohio in 2008. A lot of Republicans jumped into the Democratic primary and voted for Hillary Clinton because they're afraid of Barack Obama. He was, he looked good, he was a good speaker, he was charismatic, and they're like, God, look at him. He's going to be harder to beat. He's going to be harder to beat. So they went and voted for Hillary. So Republicans jumped into the Democratic race to fuck it up. And so that increases your power as a Republican or as, a Democrat if you were to be, it would be interesting to see how partisan some of these assholes are, because everybody should be unaffiliated. But if you're such a partisan prick and you're like, no, I'm always going to be a Republican and, just that's how I want it to be registered, then, you have limited your own power. So that's Proposition 108. Proposition 108 is actually pretty exciting stuff, too. I'll get into that. But essentially, this is going to be a great debate. I think that Jenna Griswold she seems progressive, and then Gabriel MacArthur is progressive. So what will these two progressives come up with? What will these two progressives figure out? Whatever they agree on, whenever they say, yes, instant runoff voting is the way to go, which I would love for them to say something like that. Or let's get initiatives back in. Amendment 71 is bad, so we got to get initiatives. We got to scale that back somehow. So I want to have that discussion. I want to talk about those ideas. I think it would be exciting. I think it would be like a Lincoln Douglas debates. It would be something that people would be printing and rewriting and talking about all across the state, because it'd be a lot of new, bold, fresh ideas. And, I would love to see that debate. I would love to see that conversation. And if, Philip Villard wants to jump in, that would be cool, too. So I'm excited about the Democratic Party's Secretary of State's race so far. Somebody else could still jump into this race as it is right now.
That's what we're seeing now. Wayne Williams did stop, and he's not handing over that information until we have more information about the request itself. I don't think the Trump Commission has helped anybody. This commission, it's based on the false idea that there's widespread voter fraud. Absolutely no proof of this. Wayne Williams would agree. I think he would agree.
He has before.
It's extremely rare. There's only been a handful of cases in the last decade. But what I think we really need to be concerned about is Secretary of State Kobach, Secretary of State of Kansas, who has a history of putting forth laws that lead to racial profiling, kicking off eligible voters off the polls, off the voter list so they can't vote, and he's leading this commission. This commission is based on the falsehood that there is mass voter fraud. There isn't, and it's required to go through its own laws and procedures. One of the checks that the federal government does before requesting state data is to ensure that that data that we give over is stored in a secured server. That goes to the heart of a lot of Coloradans' concerns: privacy.